Hi, folks. It's me. I wanted to go ahead and do a follow up on last night's video session that I did in my son's room. There were a couple of things that were brought up during that session that I just wanted to go ahead and add a little bit of detail to and elaborate on. One of them being, sorry, um, one of them was being that the message that came through the spirit box that said, she fell today. Now, that really kind of struck me as odd because, I just recently or shortly gotten home from work and went and did that communication session, and that was brought on up. Well, so later on in the afternoon, I pulled my son aside and I asked him, hey, just out of curiosity, did you fall today? And he said no. So I'm like, okay, well, go off and play. I called my oldest daughter in and I asked her the same question. Come to find out, yes, she did twice. So that kind of gave me a little added validation behind that particular one. Um, and it just really kind of struck me as odd when I got that voice. I mean, it was a full sentence that spanned over a good dozen or so channels. I mean, my spirit box sweep rate was running at about 100 milliseconds, which is pretty fast. And the method that I used, it was going in reverse, and it was using reverse speech. So pretty much any sounds that came through was going to come out as a big old garbled, jumbled mess. Anything that was understandable, chances are likely it could have been spirit communication. So, keeping that in mind, um, that response came over through several channels, and it was a full sentence, and it was the same voice. And later on, during the same, during that session, another message came through, and it was the same voice as the one that said she fell today. It the when missed you came through. To me, that sounded almost identical to the voice that was said earlier. I can be honest with you, just about all voices and all actual responses that I got during that session were all female, and to me, they sounded exactly the same, like it was the same person speaking. Um, and if you watched and listened to it, I think you'd be inclined to agree with me on that. Um, and that there were a few other things that went on during that session. A lot of the banging noises that you did hear, I want to go ahead and debunk that right now. My oldest daughter was in her bedroom, which is right next door. Her bed happens to lie right up against that wall. Uh, Not the wall that was like right next to me to my left, but when I panned over to around the area of my son's toys on the floor and whatnot, and his little disaster he calls a bedroom. I don't know why he won't clean it up. It completely blows my mind. But her bed was right behind the wall over on the left, where I think I got the a shot of a bookcase with a little homemade car garage on it, and all of his toys were on the floor. It was that wall that was over there that the banging noises were coming from, and I'm pretty sure that was her. But going back to my oldest daughter, when she fell, apparently it was early, relatively early in the day. It was in the morning time, um, and she's more or less a sensitive like me. We're both empaths, even though we're not blood related. She's my stepdaughter, but we're both empathic. It's just she hasn't quite gotten a handle on her skill yet. I mean, her skill level is nowhere close to mine. I mean, I can walk into my son's room and just like with the night he was telling me that he was having those bad videos or bad images in his brain about him being killed. Um, as soon as I walked on in there, I immediately felt like there was something off. There was a heavy presence in there, and that's what prompted me to go ahead and do the spirit box session. And I am going to be planning on trying to see if I can do a real-time EVP session. I'm going to pull out my recorder and I'm going to do an EVP session right there on the spot, and I'm going to review it at the same time. So if I happen to catch anything there, you'll be able to hear it too. So, I do have that. I am planning on that coming up in the next couple of days because I need to know more about who this entity is. I've got a feeling that I might know who. And when I asked my son just a little while ago, I asked him to give me a little bit more detail about those. He called them videos in his head. He was trying to sleep, and every time he closed his eyes, these images would play in a cinematic type view for him, and he said that he was stabbed with a knife. Unfortunately, before I pulled him aside and asked him that, I was sitting down and I was thinking about the session, and I was just contemplating and thinking about everything, and sure enough, I had a feeling that that was going to be the case. I felt that the mode of his death that he was seeing in his visions was by way of a knife. But our family recently, a few months ago, we lost a real close friend of ours. And sad to say, she was murdered. Yes, the assailant is incarcerated and taken care of. But it just really kind of struck me as funny because the voices and the responses I was getting being a female, this particular person was a female. And, I honestly think that she was actually trying to come through to us to let us know that she was checking in on us. So, I've got my theories, I've got my ideas, and I've got a new direction to maybe see if I can't figure out exactly what's going on here, because I don't think the first response that came through saying a demon, I don't know about that one. Sad to say, I think there could possibly be one, because this is not the first time that a demon response has come through during any of my sessions. And I mean, I've actually done a few that, unfortunately, once I started getting ready to do the editing and getting ready to post onto my channel, something happened and the audio or video or both got corrupted to the point where it was unusable, and I had no choice but to delete it. But this wasn't the first time that a demon came out as a response. It's happened several other times. So, I do have the theory that there could be not a very strong, but still a demonic presence around us, quite possibly attached to us. My fear is that it's attached to me, because every once in a while I can feel a rage that is unrecognizable. I mean, I don't normally feel like that. Not on a regular basis, at least. But it's just that deep down, I just have this gut wrenching feeling that if this demon is around, that it might be attached to me. But I believe that the remainder of the session was our friend trying to make contact with us and just checking in on us and making sure that everything is okay and we're okay. I think it was a demon that was behind giving my son those vivid visions. And I mean, they were in such great detail that it scared him, really scared him. But I also wanted to go ahead and let you know that there was a new sequence of events that happened early this morning. It was shortly after I left for work. It was about 6 o'clock, between 6 and 6:30 this morning. My wife was trying to lay down, go to sleep, and out of the blue, out of nowhere, I mean, the house was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Our cats weren't doing anything. You know, they were actually on the bed with her, sleeping. They were passed out. And out of the blue, a blood curdling scream shot through the house. It got the cat's attention. It woke them up, and they were looking for the source. And it scared my wife so much that she had to get up. She thought it was that. She thought it was our son. So she went and checked on him. Nope, he was stone cold asleep. So she went ahead and peeked into the bedroom next door to check on both our two daughters, and same situation. They were both dead asleep. So, you know, this quite could have been that female spirit that came through to me the night before that gave out that scream this morning. So again, like, you know, I'm planning on a EVP, a live action EVP burst, and more than likely another spirit box session here sometime in the next few days. Um, I'm going to set up my other device, the one that I usually do, you know, my spirit box and uh, other thing. I mean, I pretty much call it my tool. Um, so I'm thinking about setting that up for as long as I possibly can, and just let the video camera run for a little while. Now, I might let it run for about 15, 20 minutes to a half hour, and just put it in his room, leave it there, leave it alone, see what comes across, what, you know, if anything's heard, anything is caught moving, you know, I'm just to see what happens. Um, but I also want to go ahead and let you know, I obviously I use mobile apps in my investigations, but I don't. I mean, I don't condone them, because you never know what, you know. You never know what could happen. Spirits have a way. I mean, if they can manipulate a old radio, you know, you can go. Andrew from Proving Demons. I check his channel out. It's awesome. Um, and they're 100% legit, real. They're an inspiration to me and why I want to get into paranormal investigation in the first place. But I mean, he's just got just a regular old standard radio, turn dial radio, you know, antenna, the whole 9 yards. Turn it on, turn the volume as loud as you possibly can, and then turn the dial up and down the FM dial, and all the static comes through, you know, and he actually gets intelligent responses that way. So, you know, don't knock it if you don't try it. Be honest with you. A spirit can be able to manipulate anything it wants to if it wants to communicate. Um, you know, so, you know, that being said, yeah, I do use apps, but I've done the research on them. You know, and Lord knows I've tested dozens upon dozens. My Google Play history is riddled with all different kinds of uh, spirit communication apps, ITC apps, you know, just anything and everything I possibly can try to find, you know, because I'm just like anybody else, I'm curious. But there is a couple of gentlemen out there, a couple of developers. One of them, he also has a YouTube channel. His name is Brian Holloway. Um, he helps develop certain apps. You know, if you're ever interested in just checking them out, get into your app store and type in Spain Paranormal. Spain, just like the country, SPAIN, Paranormal. 90% of all of their apps are completely free to download. They are all done with IT, you know, with they're all developed under their theories on how it should work, why it should work, what, you know, what it does. I've got 3 or 4 different Spirit Box apps on that device, along with an EMF meter that uses the magnetic sensor in the device itself to triangulate and scan for the EMF readings. And you saw it last night. I was nowhere close to anything electrical. The light was off. I had nothing plugged in. It was sitting on the bed, and yet it was still picking up readings. So, I can take that thing over to my refrigerator and it would go nuts. I could take it to my deep freeze or microwave or any other appliance and it would light up like a Christmas tree. I can go to other places around the house where there's really not very much electrical current or any appliances or devices around, and it'll just be just stone silent, That gives me enough validation that, hey, this quite possibly could work. So, that was the EMF meter I used, was Spain Paranormal. The ghost box I was using was Spain Paranormal. Everything I use is Spain Paranormal because it's actually developed by paranormal investigators, and they've done their research, they've done their homework, and they've created and developed these particular apps for people like me or anybody else that's interested in getting into investigating, paranormal activity. They've kept that in mind, and you be the judge. All honesty, you be the judge. Obviously, I'm going to sit here and say, they do work. I'm not going to say they work all the time, but if you use them enough, if you're around a spirit and you use the same ITC tools enough, they will eventually figure out how to manipulate those sounds to be able to communicate with you. And, I've tried them. A lot of them I've found to be just a complete crock. A lot of them are just novelty. Some of them have hidden messages woven in. But the thing with with Spain Paranormal, is every single one of their Spirit Box apps, every sound bank they use, are different languages. They're the 2 of the 4 that I have on my other device, they're Spanish. The language that comes through is Spanish, so it's not English, for starters. And they also made the sound waves play in reverse. So all it's going to do is just come out as just a bunch of random jumbled up noises and whatnot. And when you actually come across a legitimate response that you can clearly understand, that's where that's where chances are incredibly likely the spirit is the one talking. They're manipulating those sound waves to take that reverse multi-language speech and manipulate it to come out as straightforward, clear English. And that right there is enough for me as validation as well, that I was, you heard it on several of my videos. If I could understand it, then I would believe that I was in contact with the spirit, and everybody's got their own feelings about it. There's tons of people out there that will say, "Oh no, apps don't use apps. They don't work. This, that, and the other." I think they just really never gave them a chance. You know what I'm saying? So it's, it is what it is. Either you believe they work or you don't believe they work. And a lot of the time, somebody's going to pick up an app and they're going to use it once and not get anything out of it. And they're going to say, "Oh no, it's fake. It doesn't work." And that's not how it works, guys. I mean, you got to use it repetitive. Repetitive is key on a situation like this. If you're going to use an app, use it several times. Eventually, the spirit will be able to figure out how to manipulate that device or whatever you're using to be able to communicate with you. Because think about it, if it really wants to talk to you, it will find a way. Always. and there's just really no two ways about it. So, but yeah, that being said, okay, I use apps. Big whoopee, you heard it. There was something there. I mean, it was clear as day. You be the judge. Now, I'm going to see if I can go ahead and do the EVP burst later on this evening. If I can't get to it tonight, I will definitely work on trying to get to it tomorrow night, Friday night. It just depends on how family life goes right now because, well, I'm trying to do this and trying to keep it away from 2 out of my 3 kids. You know, you know what I mean? I just don't think that they're old enough to understand yet. But I'm not saying that they don't see it and they just don't talk about it. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted to just kind of follow up a little bit and give you a couple of explanations on the video last night with some of those clear as day responses. Now, I did go through and listen through the EVP recording that I did take during that entire session. And yeah, I did get some voices that came through. But unfortunately, at the moment, I haven't figured out a way how I could be able to include those into a playback on a video. So, you know, I do have them. And you know, I'll do a little bit more tinkering and playing around, and maybe I might be able to figure out a way to be able to get that to work for you, so you can be able to listen in as well. But that right there is the basis behind why I want to go ahead and do the live action EVP. That way, I can go ahead and do the session with you watching, and then immediately do a playback. And you know, if anything gets caught during that time, it's right there on video. You know, I would be more than happy to share the results with you. But anyway, thank you again for watching, and look for more sessions to come.